My roommate is a worshipper of everything foreign. She uses SKI facial treatment, essence on her face, and even accused me of stealing hers. Please. Mine was clearly placed next to the toilet. I use it for my hemorrhoids. For products that go on my face, I only choose Chinese brands. On the first day of university, I was assigned to dormitory 301. Dormitories in our school are for 4 people. As soon as I pushed the door open, I found the other 3 girls had already arrived. 2 of them looked quite plain. When they saw me come in, they greeted me voluntarily. Only one girl acted as if she hadn't noticed anyone. She sat on her chair, applying a face mask while video calling someone. Her voice was shrill and loud. Yeah, I can't believe it's a 4-person dorm. And I can't even upgrade. This is supposed to be a top university, so ridiculous. Who knows what random people I've ended up living with? At her words, the 2 girls next to her lowered their heads in unison. I frowned. She really hit the nail on the head. My family started out breeding and showing purebred competition dogs and cats, and our business once ranked among the top 3 across Asia. Anyone in the industry knows my father and his company, all over the world. She said a master had told her that, if our family switched careers, we would achieve even greater success. So my father made up his mind. Not only did he change industries, he expanded into various consumer goods and entertainment products. Within a few years, his personal wealth exceeded $6 billion. Naturally, my relatives asked if I wanted to study abroad. My father said, "It's perfectly fine for my girl to study in China. I know plenty of countries around the world. After seeing them all, Chinese culture is still the best." My mother and I nodded repeatedly beside him. I completely agree with my father's values. Although my family has piles of imported luxury goods, they're all gifts from my father's business partners. I didn't buy a single one myself. I prefer high-end domestic brands. For makeup, I use Maojeping. Its effect is amazing. I don't really use those foreign brands properly. My father told me not to waste things, so I only use them reluctantly. In my heart, my father is like a towering mountain, someone I deeply admire. So in the end, I decided to apply to this famous top 5 university in the country, major in Chinese language and literature, and become a proud inheritor of Chinese culture. Originally, I was full of expectations for my university life. So before coming to school, I specially wore a woven satin Hanfu tailored for me by a master of Nanjing brocade, and put on my 18th birthday gift from my mother, a pair of jadeite bracelets worth 8 million yuan, with excellent translucency. My mother said, "How can a girl not have a decent piece of jadeite? Those messy brands, Bulgari, Bushilati, Chormet, how can they compare to our Chinese jadeite, which nourishes the wearer?" Mother couldn't have been more right. Originally, my whole family was happy, and I planned to enjoy my first day of school. Who knew I would run into such an odd roommate? Not only did she love showing off her shallow, boring wealth, she was also obsessed with foreign things. I clearly heard her saying to the person on the video call, "If I hadn't have been transferred, who would want to study Chinese language and literature? It's so tacky." I originally planned to study international trade. Only going global has a future. That struck a nerve. I was so annoyed that I interrupted her rambling. "Haven't you heard? What is national is international." At that moment, my peripheral vision caught her student ID on her desk. Bai Menglu. That was her name. "Who are you calling crazy?" Bai Menglu screamed, tearing off her face mask. "Dressed like a freak in broad daylight. Are you ill?" I thought she must be some stunning beauty to act so arrogantly. Under the mask, her features were as plain as a blank tile in mahjong. "I'm not crazy. My name is Xueru. Besides, these aren't strange clothes. This is Hanfu, a traditional Chinese rukun." With that, I ignored her and focused on making my bed. The 2 other girls walked past me with thermoses, apparently going to fetch hot water. When Bai Menglu wasn't looking, they quietly gave me a thumbs up. I responded with a bright smile. At that moment, I never imagined this was only the beginning of my conflict with Bai Menglu. It wasn't even the next day. That same night, Bai Menglu started causing trouble in the dormitory. Her way of showing off wealth was calling friends and listing her belongings like she was reading a menu. "My Cartier bracelet looks nice, but it's a bit heavy to wear, not very comfortable, since my wrists are slim. I prefer Tiffany more. You know, I've been using SK2 since I was 12. I've lost count of how many bottles of facial treatment essence I've gone through. If only they sold it in big barrels, I could pour a whole bathtub full. It's such a hassle using small bottles. She wandered around the room as she spoke. Then she seemed to spot something. Huh? Lu Qian and Jiang Beibai were both startled. I walked over slowly. Bai Menglu, look carefully. This isn't yours. It's mine. I pointed to the bottle on her desk. It was indeed the same product. Bai Menglu frowned, looking confused. The bottle next to the toilet really was mine. I put it there on purpose to apply to my hemorrhoids. I have hemorrhoids and only this helps relieve it. It contains alcohol which stops the itching. By the way, if you bathe in it, don't accidentally drink the bath water, it's poisonous. With that, I shot her a glare and walked away. Bai Menglu stood frozen, not knowing whether to leave or stay. Her hand holding the phone trembling slightly. The other two girls in the dorm had already exchanged names with me. One was Lu Qian, the other Jiang Beibai, both simple and kind classmates. Hearing me mock Bai Menglu, Lu Qian and Jiang Beibai couldn't help laughing out loud. I called to Bai Menglu from across the room. Also, take your phone call outside. Are you insane? I'm making my call, what's it to you? I stared at her coldly. You're speaking too loudly. You're disturbing us. Lu Qian was too timid to speak. Jiang Beibai was braver and backed me up. Exactly. Go outside if you're going to call, don't disturb everyone. Bai Menglu stood up and stamped her foot in anger. Honestly, it was the first time I'd seen someone stamp their foot in real life when angry. I thought such affected behavior only happened in TV dramas. If you're going to stamp your feet, please do it outside too, I added. You're ganging up on me. Bullying me. Just you wait. I won't let you get away with this. With that, Bai Menglu ran out of the door crying. It was as if the person who'd been lounging and showing off just minutes earlier wasn't he her. Lu Qian, Jiang Beibai and I exchanged glances. After this incident, Bai Menglu didn't show up for several days. She was also absent during the week of military training. But she didn't seem to have moved dormitories. All her luggage and belongings, including her prized SK2 and luxury bags, were still on her desk. To be fair, military training at university was really tough. All first-year students at our school were taken to a training base on the outskirts of the city. Conditions were basic and the food was poor. Braised pork or lion head meatballs were occasionally served, but they were snatched up immediately. I didn't mind, though. Despite my family's wealth, I wasn't a spoiled second-generation rich kid. Since I was little, my parents had emphasized teaching me to endure hardship. Before camping became popular in China, my parents often took me hiking in the mountains. It was our family tradition. The Fu family Great Training March. So even though military training was hard, it wasn't a big deal for me. I actually felt more energized after training. What worried me most was Lu Qian. She was thin and weak, and not in good health. She said she'd had anemia since childhood, and recently she'd been suffering from travel sickness and struggling with the training. That day, we stood at attention in the scorching sun. After less than 3 minutes, Lu Qian fainted. Luckily, she was standing diagonally in front of me. When I saw her posture go limp, I reacted quickly and held her up. The instructor and I helped each other take Lu Qian to the infirmary at the base. The infirmary was also basic, with only 2 or 3 doctors and nurses on duty. Unexpectedly, as soon as we helped Lu Qian lie down on a bed, I heard a familiar voice. I can't take it. I'm dizzy again. Hurry, do you have honey water? A warm cup, please. The voice came from behind the curtain. It was none other than Bai Menglu. I frowned. Had she been hiding here this whole time? I pulled back the curtain sharply. What I saw left me dumbfounded. Bai Menglu was lying on the bed in skimpy clothes, moaning with her eyes closed. Bai Menglu opened her eyes. The moment she saw me, her face turned murderous. You're everywhere, Bai Menglu snarled. I could hear her grinding her back teeth. I kept a straight face. What a coincidence. Have you been lying here for days? At that moment, the nurse spoke to me. Student, are you in the same class? I nodded. We were not only dormmates but classmates. I smiled. Afraid I'll report you to the form teacher. Don't worry. I can't be bothered with your business. Only then did Bai Menglu notice Lu Qian lying weakly on the bed next to me. She was genuinely unwell. Bai Menglu was dressed revealingly and speaking sharply to me. She looked nothing like someone who was ill. The nurse finally managed to finish speaking to me. "Student, this young lady," she glanced at Bai Menglu, "has been here for days. She's actually in good health and can go back." I asked her, but she refused to tell me which major or class she's in. Before the nurse could finish, Bai Menglu interrupted with a cold laugh. "Nurse, are you new here? Let me be clear, my father has already spoken to the people here. I'm supposed to rest in this bed. My superiors know. That's all that matters." Her rude words left the young nurse embarrassed and red-faced. Bai Menglu kept going, making trouble out of nothing. "My superiors haven't said anything. What right do you have to send me away? I'm staying here until military training is over. What are you going to do about it?" Enough. I couldn't listen any longer. Looking at the wronged nurse and pale, barely conscious Lu Qian, I ignored Bai Menglu and said to the nurse, "Please look after my classmate first." The young nurse looked at me with obvious gratitude. Bai Menglu kept chattering. "Xueru, are you crazy? What do you mean?" "Don't worry," I smiled at her. "I'll take care of you. Where does it hurt?" Bai Menglu flew into a rage. "Just looking at you, you bitch, makes me hurt all over." "Ah, then that's my fault. I must make amends." Bai Menglu stared at me, stunned. I looked around. The infirmary was small but well equipped with medical devices. At a glance, I spotted a set of traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture kits in the cabinet. I walked over calmly, took it out, and stood in front of Bai Menglu. Under her terrified gaze, I opened the kit and took out the longest needle. "Classmate Bai, I've studied acupuncture. Would you like to try it?" Sunlight streamed through the window, glinting off the tip of the needle. A cold flash of light. I saw Bai Menglu turn paler than her surname. "Are you insane? You lunatic." "Xueru, just you wait." The woman who'd been pretending to be a delicate invalid jumped up, grabbed her clothes from the bedside and fled. I put the acupuncture kit away. Luckily, apart from the nurse I'd stood up for, everyone else was busy and hadn't seen me. Otherwise, it would have been rather embarrassing. I'd gone to a lot of trouble just to scare Bai Menglu. Thankfully, Lu Qian woke up after resting for a while. Relieved that she was okay, we returned to the dormitory. Unexpectedly, the next day, Bai Menglu also came back. Why had the girl who'd been in hiding for days suddenly accepted military training? From the way she looked at me, I suspected I had something to do with it. Her gaze clearly said, "This isn't over." I later found out that my confrontation with Bai Menglu in the infirmary had reached the leaders of the training base. Bai Menglu really had arranged special treatment through her family. When the leaders heard about it, they were furious and took immediate action. Those who should be removed were removed, and those who should be punished were punished. And classmate Bai had no choice but to join military training normally. Although I'm not someone who likes gossip, Bai Menglu was far too boastful. Her repeated mentions of her father in the infirmary had piqued my curiosity. After military training, I finally got my Huawei foldable phone back. I found a quiet corner on the sports field and video called my parents. I only told them the good parts, not the troubles, just funny stories from training. Like classmates nearly falling asleep while standing at attention and getting kicked by the instructor. But they listened to my silly little stories with great interest, asking questions all the while. It wasn't because the stories were wonderful. It was because every word I said was precious to them. I'm so lucky to have parents who love me this much. Suddenly, my father's expression changed on the screen, as if he'd remembered something. "By the way, sweetie, do you have a classmate with the surname Bai?" My heart skipped a beat. The only Bai in our class was Bai Menglu. "Why, Dad?" "Nothing. I just suddenly remembered that the daughter of an old acquaintance also got into your university's Chinese department," my father replied. "An old acquaintance? Who is it?" I asked casually, acting unconcerned. "Uncle Bai Dagang. Do you remember him? He was originally a dog trainer at our kennel. Later, because he did well, I promoted him to regional manager for Southeast Asia." My father always spoke enthusiastically about the past. Hearing this, I remembered. I recalled Uncle Bai too. He'd shown me around the kennels and catteries when I was little. So they really were old acquaintances. "What's Uncle Bai doing now?" Sigh. Lower Bai has always aimed too high. I told him before, you can't be overly ambitious in business. You have to take it step by step. But he wouldn't listen. He insisted on investing in overseas real estate. A few years ago, the foreign economy declined. The properties he bought were hard to sell, and he nearly lost all his life savings. My father frowned, deeply regretful. He also told me that in the end, he'd given Uncle Bai a sum of money to solve his urgent cash flow problems. Now Bai Dagang runs a chain of restaurants, which my father considers nothing special, not worth doing. The more I listened, the stranger I felt. So, ultimately, the money Miss Bai flaunted came from my father's wallet. Thankfully, my father forgot to press me about whether I knew a classmate surnamed Bai, as we chatted. After hanging up, I walked back to the dorm, feeling more and more uneasy. So Bai Menglu's arrogance was all just a show. It really proved the old saying, with barely a few coins in your pocket, you pretend to be a rich kid. As soon as I entered room 301, I saw Bai Menglu again, lounging with her legs crossed, applying a face mask. Her small eyes glared at me through the holes in the mask. I almost laughed. She really saw me as her rival. For the sake of Uncle Bai Dagan being my father's former employee, I decided to hold back for now. As long as Bai Menglu didn't go too far, I would tolerate her. But this time, I learned what it meant. When the trees want to stay still, the wind will not stop. I wanted peace, but she wouldn't leave me alone. After military training, the wonderful university life officially began for us freshers. Even better, for some reason, Bai Menglu rarely stayed in our dormitory. She only came back once or twice, each time just to collect her things, especially the luxury goods she treasured. Liu Qian, Zhang Baibai and I were more than happy with this arrangement. We hoped she wouldn't come back until graduation. Soon, all the school clubs began recruiting new members. On recruitment day, club leaders and members set up tables on the open lawn in the center of campus. They prepared brochures and small gifts to promote themselves to first years. Liu Qian still wasn't feeling well and didn't want to join in, so Zhang Baibai and I went to check out the clubs together. I have to say, our university deserved its reputation as a top school. The activities were amazing. The clubs I was interested in, Hanfu, Kunqu, Guzheng, all existed. If I'd had more free time, I would have joined every single one. The president of the Kunqu club was a handsome third-year student named Wang Quan, from the School of Economics and Management. Wow, senior, you're amazing studying economics and you can sing Kunqu. Zhang Baibai's eyes lit up. I held back a smile. She was only excited because he was good-looking. Wang Quan looked a little embarrassed, a faint blush spreading across his pale face. A member named Dongping laughed and said, Senior Wang plays young male roles. He's good at the Peony Pavilion and the Jade Hairpin. His original female partner was a fourth-year student, but she's busy with her graduation thesis and doesn't have time for activities anymore. So that's what it meant. Zhang Baibai and I exchanged a look. I gave her a teasing glance, and she replied with a look that said, I know. Wang Quan and Dongping both laughed at our sly expressions. Welcome to join a Kunqu club, if you're interested. Wang Quan smiled at us, gaze lingering on me a little longer. I smiled back and nodded. Then Zhang Baibai and I filled in the registration form. In front of everyone, I was too embarrassed to say it outright. I'm an amateur Peking and Kunqu performer, and I've been singing for nearly 10 years. Amateur performers like me can perform on stage with full makeup and costumes. I've studied both Peking opera and Kunqu for years with teachers who are national first-class actors, if not grandmasters. In the second year of primary school, I even competed in a national children's Peking opera competition on CCTV. Unsurprisingly, when I attended my first official Kunqu club activity, everyone was stunned. That day I sang an excerpt from the Peony Pavilion, Searching for Dreams, a cappella, without makeup. The activity was held in a multi-purpose hall in the 5th teaching building. When I finished, all 10 or so members sat in the audience, staring at me in shock. Zhang Baibai was the first to recover. She stood up and clapped, shouting, Bravo! Dongping laughed loudly. You're supposed to shout how? Like this. How ooh? Zhang Baibai copied him. Everyone burst out laughing. I stepped off the stage. I hadn't sung Kunqu so freely since senior high, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Sitting down next to Baibai, I noticed Wang Quan was watching me. He was a delicate-looking boy, pale-skinned, with soft, long eyes, a high but refined nose bridge, and thin, pale red lips. He was like the elegant mountains of the south, beautiful and quiet. I thought he might be a little shy. Our later interactions confirmed this. Whenever I went to Kunqu activities, Wang Quan always quietly helped me with small things. Although we added each other on WeChat as soon as I joined, and he messaged me every day, we only chatted casually about study and life. We never talked about anything deep. It wasn't until a month after the semester started, when the Kun Club began rehearsing a major play for the school art festival in November, that Wang Quan and I really started interacting more. We were clearly the two leads. This year, the whole club voted unanimously to perform the Western Chamber. I played Kui Yingying and Wang Quan played Zhang Sheng. Rehearsals were hard work. We loved the opera, so we enjoyed every minute. That day, Bai and I returned to the dorm late after club activities, nearly missing curfew. But as soon as we opened the door to room 301, we gasped. The lights were blazing. Bai Menglu, who'd been missing for ages, was standing in the middle of the room, fuming, stamping her feet and pulling her hair. Lu Qian sat on her chair, covering her face and sobbing quietly. On the floor lay colorful shards, apparently a smashed porcelain cup. You pay for it. Can you even afford it? You poor thing. We walked in just as Bai Menglu was shouting at Lu Qian. At the sight, I could roughly guess what had happened. I looked closely at the fragments. Green leaf patterns were painted on the white porcelain. Is this a Hermes Limoges teacup? I asked Bai Menglu calmly. She looked surprised. Who knew a country bumpkin like you knew good stuff? Then you must know how much it costs. I did know. Coincidentally, just a few days earlier, my mother had been choosing a birthday gift for my second aunt at home. Our live-in nanny, Aunt Liu, had recommended this cup. She said she'd bought a set for her mother-in-law's birthday, and her mother-in-law had been delighted. Out of politeness, my mother hadn't said anything at the time and even checked the price online with Aunt Liu. A set cost 6,000 yuan, not too bad, really. When Aunt Liu went to the nanny's quarters, my mother told me the truth. She didn't like buying Hermes, and neither did my second aunt. Your second aunt even rented a porcelain kiln in Jingdezhen last year. All her cups, bowls and plates are custom-made. She says she can't stand ready-made ones anymore. Looking at the furious Bai Menglu and pitiful Lu Qian, I waved my hand. It's only 6,000 yuan. Show me your WeChat payment code. Lu Qian stared at me wide-eyed. Xueru, you can't. Consider it a loan, okay? I smiled at her, then turned to Bai Menglu. This small incident ended with me paying for Lu Qian. My father received a bank alert about the payment, and messaged me asking what had happened. This amount was too little for something important, yet too much for ordinary school matters. He must have thought so. I typed briefly and told him what had happened. My father replied with a voice message. Are university students really this rich now? Drinking from luxury teacups? He always tells the younger generation to control material desires and not waste money. He has a famous saying, if you want money to stay away from you, it will gradually develop the habit of leaving. If neither you nor money wants to be together, you'll end up with nothing. I really wanted to pass these words on to Bai Menglu, advising her to stop wasting the money Uncle Bai had worked so hard to recover. And if my father ever found out that Uncle Bai Dezheng had raised a daughter like Bai Menglu, I wondered what he would think. With me paying compensation, the matter with Lu Qian was settled. Since Bai Menglu wasn't close to the three of us, we had no idea what she was up to most of the time. But I soon found out. She was also joining the art festival, representing the dance club. To be fair, Bai Menglu had a good figure, and she'd reportedly studied dance for years. She really did have some skill. When the art festival schedule came out, I saw that dance, music and drama performances were all on the same night. Our Kun Club show was after the dance club, with 2 acts from the drama club and Gu Zheng club in between. My parents had already told me they were coming to watch me perform. I planned to give it my all and make them proud of their new university student. So recently, I'd spent all my spare time during the day rehearsing with Wang Quan in the art college rehearsal hall. During a break that day, I mentioned casually that my parents were coming. Unexpectedly, his overly pale face slowly turned pink. I asked curiously, Senior, are you hot? No. Wang Quan smiled shyly and awkwardly. Then he added quietly, I'm a little nervous about meeting your parents. Nervous, really? Oh, I suddenly didn't know how to reply. I think I understood. Bathed in sunlight through the window, I dared to look carefully at Wang Quan's side face. He really was delicate, like a scholar from a novel. Wow, what are you two doing here? Someone showed up uninvited. It was Bai Menglu. She leaned against the doorframe, her face screaming, I'm here to watch the drama. Looking extremely annoying. I couldn't help rolling my eyes. The rehearsal room door had been closed. Now Bai Menglu pushed it open casually, acting completely natural. This girl really had some nerve. Can I help you? For your father's sake, I'm holding back. I even kept a smile on my face. Nothing much. Just came to see you. Bai Menglu was even faker than me, smiling like a pale chrysanthemum. Then her gaze shifted to Wang Quan. Oh, you're the president of the Kunqu club, right? A senior? The way she was leering at him was disgusting. Wang Quan clearly had no idea what was going on. He just froze for a moment, then nodded in reply. That only egged her on. She stepped right up to him and started chatting. Her face so oily I couldn't bear to look. He really looked like a poor little puppy. I wanted to laugh, but I also felt sorry for him. So I stepped smoothly between them. If you have nothing to do, don't disturb our rehearsal, I said to Bai Menglu. Bai Menglu lifted her chin, looking sharp-tongued. This is a rehearsal room. You can rehearse, so can I. What, you two take up the whole space and won't let anyone else use it? That's way too domineering. Wang Quan and I frowned at each other. This time Wang Quan spoke up. Classmate, you can use the room, but please don't disturb Xueru and me. He gestured for me to follow him. We moved to the far corner of the hall, as far away from Bai Menglu as possible. From a distance I saw Bai Menglu's face turn dark with rage. She didn't stick to her excuse about rehearsing. Instead, she stormed off, slamming the door loudly behind her. I sneered. Wang Quan had a subtle expression beside me. He was shy but also smart. He must have picked up something from my clash with Bai Menglu. Still, this little incident didn't affect our intense focused rehearsal at all. I had prepared thoroughly for this performance. I specially ordered costumes for Wang Quan and me from a theatre costume factory in Suzhou. Both outfits featured exquisite Suzhou embroidery made by veteran craftsmen. The female role's costume was embroidered with emerald bamboo and auspicious herbs, while the male roles had orchids. After the show, I planned to donate both to the Kunqu Club for everyone to use. I also took out my own precious set of silk-woven opera hair ornaments to wear for the performance. Hair ornaments are the decorative pieces worn by female opera characters. Kunqu, as the name suggests, is made with silk fabric. Even more valuable than Kunqu is Kunqu, which uses kingfisher feathers. One set could cost over 1,000,000 yuan. But after my family gave up the pet business, my mother encouraged the whole family not to use luxury animal products. So I never used Kunqu. Naturally, I didn't mention any of this in front of Wang Quan. But I had a feeling. If he knew my thoughts, he would agree. After all, many stray cats on campus had been fed by Wang Quan himself. In the blink of an eye, the art festival was upon us. After the full cast rehearsal the day before the official show, Wang Quan invited me to feed the cats with him again. We walked a long way along the campus paths, stopping several times to feed them. It was the first time I realized how beautiful and peaceful this campus could be. I hoped I could walk this road with this boy beside me many times in the future. With that thought, I couldn't help glancing at him. Unexpectedly, this time our eyes met directly. We both hastily looked away. I heard my own heartbeat strong and joyful. This time, Wang Quan walked me all the way to the girls' dormitory building. I was just about to go inside when he called after me. After tomorrow's performance, can I take you out to celebrate? I widened my eyes slightly. But my parents are coming. Invite uncle and auntie to join us. Wang Quan blushed again when he said this, but his tone was firm. The four of us can celebrate. How about that? Only the next day did I find out that celebrating with the person I liked and the family I loved might not be so easy. Because you can never stop a shameless person from ruining everything. I realized I'd been set up about an hour before Wang Quan, and I was supposed to go on stage. According to the school's arrangement, Wang Quan and I had already tried on our costumes. After confirming they were fine, we covered them with plastic garment bags and hung them on the rack closest to our seats. As the club president and a third-year senior, Wang Quan still had to help with coordination and organization despite his own performance. So he wasn't in the dressing room the entire time. I wasn't at my seat either because I'd run into a small problem. It was the art festival, and so many people were performing that the ladies' restroom inside the auditorium was completely packed. I'd urgently needed to use the toilet, so I ran to one in a nearby functional building instead. The functional building was rarely used and the area was quiet. I finished quickly and stood up to leave. Just then, I heard muffled sobbing coming through the back ventilation window. It sounded like crying and it was painful. What's more, the voice sounded weirdly familiar. A strange unease settled in my chest. I peeked through the window gap and saw a girl kneeling on the ground facing me. Her face bruised purple and blue. Standing in front of her were two tall, strong girls. The purple-haired one kicked Lu Qian hard in the chest. Go on. Is 6,000 yuan not enough? You're that cheap. Why don't you just sell yourself? The one with tattoos on her legs spoke sarcastically. Daring to ask Sister Lu for money. You really don't want to live. I was full of doubt. But regardless, saving Lu Qian came first. Yet, just as I was about to rush out, I heard Lu Qian say something shocking. Bai Menglu promised me at first, my roommate said, struggling to get up and looking up at the purple-haired girl. If I acted along with her, she'd give me 10,000 yuan. What? So that day's incident had been a setup between the two of them. The purple-haired girl spat in Lu Qian's face. Acted along? You think we don't know? Sister Lu told us everything. That bitch Xueru just paid up without even reacting. Sister Lu didn't have any fun. And you still dare ask for more money? But I'm really in trouble. Shut up. The tattooed girl raised her hand and slapped Lu Qian across the face. Hearing this, I roughly understood everything. I walked out of the restroom and into the quiet open area where Lu Qian and the others were. Stop. The purple-haired and tattooed girls had still been hitting Lu Qian. At my shout, both turned around at the same time. Their faces froze when they saw me. I didn't know them, they didn't even look like students from our school. I had no idea where Bai Menglu had found them as thugs. But they clearly recognized me. I thought to myself, Bai Menglu really did see me as her mortal enemy. Even her lackeys knew what I looked like. And the most flustered one was Lu Qian, who had just been beaten on the ground. You too. My gaze locked onto the purple-haired girl, then slowly shifted to the tattooed one. Don't bully Lu Qian ever again. If I find out, I'll make you regret it. Tell Bai Menglu the same thing. I couldn't be bothered with these two troublemakers. After speaking, I took Lu Qian's hand and left. Her leg was bleeding, and there were obvious marks on her face. After thinking for a moment, I led her through a small path to the school hospital, avoiding crowded areas along the way. This is the second time I've brought you here, I said to Lu Qian at the entrance to the school hospital. She hung her head. She hadn't said a single word since I'd rescued her. Thinking the performance was about to start, I turned to leave. I'm sorry. I heard Lu Qian crying behind me. I turned around and saw her crouching on the ground, covering her face. Go see the doctor first. We can talk later. With that, I rushed straight towards the auditorium. But when I returned to my seat in the dressing room, I found my costume was gone. Wang Quan's was still hanging there, untouched. Everyone in the club was busy. Dongping was the flutist, and Zhang Baibei had learned to play the drums at the last minute. She was so nervous about performing that she kept practicing with the band. Everyone else was occupied too. No one had noticed who had taken my costume. I froze in shock. When Dongping and Zhang Baibei found out what had happened, they panicked too. All the Kunqu club members were stressed. Just then, I heard people behind me saying, "The dance club performance is starting. Senior Bai Menglu is on stage." The younger students around looked excited and rushed out to watch her. At that moment, a realization hit me. Bai Menglu hadn't shown up in the dressing room at all that day. No one knew where she'd been. My instinct told me all the strange things happening that day were connected. The missing Bai Menglu, the vanished costume, Lu Qian beaten. It was a trap? It had to be. Almost instinctively, I thought to check the side of the backstage. As I ran out of the dressing room, I ran straight into Wang Quan. What's wrong? He grew worried when he saw my state. My costume's gone. Without pausing to explain further, I rushed out. Bai Menglu's performance had already started. I stood at the side of the stage and saw her dancing gracefully. TCH. I guessed perfectly. The costume she was wearing was exactly my Suzhou-embroidered opera dress. Bai Menglu was performing a Chinese dance that day, which perfectly used water sleeves. Her dancing could be called beautiful, but her posture was still a little stiff. It was obvious she hadn't originally studied Chinese dance, probably ballet or something similar. In that instant, I really wanted to rush onto the stage and yank the clothes off her. But from this angle, I could clearly see my parents sitting in the prime seats in the audience, watching the performance intently. The reason I invited them was to show them that their daughter could handle university life on her own. If I did something so impulsive and shameless in front of everyone, where would my parents' dignity be? How could they believe their daughter had grown up, able to handle all kinds of situations? No longer the little child who had to be sheltered under their wings. What's more, if I confronted Bai Menglu now, not only would the dance club's performance be ruined, but our Kunqu club's show would probably be cancelled too. It would be a lose-lose choice. As I was thinking, Bai Menglu suddenly turned her face towards me in time with the dance. She smiled at me almost provocatively. This vicious woman was right in front of me, showing off in the costume I had prepared so carefully. My anger was barely under control. The reason I had built up so carefully was gradually melting away in rage. At that critical moment, I heard someone speak softly behind me. "Don't panic." My heart felt like it had been tapped by a small hammer. I turned and saw Kunqu's calm face. "We can fix this. Let's just finish our performance first." He looked at me, his gaze determined. I looked back at him. At that moment, I felt a large hand take mine. Kunqu's palm was warm. Seeing him like this, confidence suddenly rose in my heart. Yes. There must be a better way. Time was running out. Kunqu pulled me straight to the costume department on the second floor of the school auditorium. From how fast he was pulling me, I could tell he knew this place well. The teacher in charge of the costume department was sorting clothes. When Kunqu and I rushed in sweating, the teacher immediately asked what was wrong. Kunqu explained briefly and borrowed costumes from her. Although the school's costumes weren't as perfect as my custom-made ones, they were still well made. After thinking for a moment, I specially asked the teacher to lengthen the water sleeves on my costume. Kunqu looked confused. I explained. I need them for the performance. We took the clothes and immediately returned to the dressing room. The makeup artist was already waiting. As soon as we got back, she helped Kunqu and me get ready as quickly as possible. Anyone who didn't know the truth would never have guessed what we'd been through. After taking our bows and stepping off stage, I ran into Bai Menglu backstage. She had already changed back into her normal clothes, looking completely calm, as if nothing weird had happened that day, and as if she was completely innocent. "Congratulations, Xueru. That was a really nice performance." Bai Menglu chuckled, then whispered in a voice only we could hear. "But opera is kind of tacky, isn't it? Aren't you even more disgusting for stealing someone else's clothes?" I smiled back. Anyone passing by would probably have thought we were having a friendly chat. Kunqu stood quietly beside me, with no intention of leaving. Unexpectedly, Bai Menglu started playing the victim. "Oh, you can't say things like that without proof." Before she could finish, I flicked a water sleeve straight across her face. Bai Menglu was completely caught off guard. Honestly, who would have thought I'd be talking nicely to her 1 second, and slapping her with a sleeve the next? Yes. That was why I'd asked the costume department teacher to lengthen my water sleeves. To hit her. The art festival was still going on, with more acts to come. I acted even more delicate than a white lotus. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to show you how to use the water sleeves properly." Acting innocent? Who couldn't do that? I was a veteran amateur performer. Bai Menglu didn't care about anything. She just cried as loud as she could, as if being louder meant she was in the right. Well, this poor little rich girl had probably never been humiliated like this before. Seeing the scene in front of him, Kunqu was also a little surprised. Kunqu trusted me. When he saw how calm I was, he didn't say anything else. Backstage started to get chaotic. In the middle of it all, I glanced towards the audience. Luckily, they weren't affected. Most people were still focused on the next performances. However, my parents' seats were empty. They had left. "Let's go," I whispered to Kunqu. While several people crowded around Bai Menglu, trying to comfort her, Wang Quan and I slipped away successfully. When we reached the dressing room, I saw my parents were already waiting there. Seeing the parents who loved me so much, and thinking about all the messy things I'd been through these days. My eyes instantly stung with tears. My mother was sharp. The performance went so well. Why do you look unhappy? I quickly shook my head. I'm just so happy. Even happier when I see you too. My father laughed out loud first. Your mum kept telling me to relax, saying our girl had grown up. Don't you see it still crying at the drop of a hat just like when you were little? I laughed through my tears and told him to stop teasing me. The Kunqu club members all crowded over to greet my parents. These two old souls loved being surrounded by young people. They were even happier, chatting away with everyone. My name is Wang Quan. His voice wasn't loud, but it made everyone go quiet. Dongping, Zhang Bai and the others looked from Wang Quan to me, then broke into meaningful grins. My cheeks burned uncontrollably. My parents were no fools. Seeing this scene, they understood immediately. They greeted Wang Quan politely, and even invited him to dinner with us that evening. After everyone left, my parents pulled me aside alone. Found a boyfriend as soon as you got to university? I could only whisper since there were still classmates around. We hadn't even started yet. Stop pestering her about this. My mother gently pushed my father, then turned to me. I'll handle this. Good grief. I was just about to explain when another troublemaker appeared. Xueru. This isn't over between us. Actually, at that moment I was also confused. I'd only hit her once with a sleeve. It wasn't like I'd beaten her within an inch of her life, but she looked like she'd been whipped dozens of times. Before she could reach me, my father stepped in and blocked her way. Girl, what's wrong with you? Bai Menglu was still in a frenzy. Being blocked only made her crazier. Who the hell are you? Get lost. When I heard that, my mind went blank. Others might not know, but I knew very well. The biggest taboo for my father was anyone insulting his mother, my grandmother. My grandfather passed away early. Grandmother raised my father and my two uncles all by herself, through all kinds of hardship. In my father's heart, his mother was the most sacred, untouchable person in the world. Once when I was little, my father got drunk with an uncle. They argued, and because the uncle insulted his mother without thinking, my father beat him until his face was swollen and bruised. Oh, I forgot to mention. My father used to be a sports school student. He only went into business several years after graduating. Sure enough, after hearing Bai Menglu's foul language, my father's face turned dark instantly. What did you say? His tone was terrifying. Unfortunately, Bai Menglu was not only tactless but also half-deaf. What right do you have? I sighed helplessly. Right here. She shouted louder and louder, completely ignoring my father. I thought to myself, Lady, don't you realize you're about to get into huge trouble? Wang Quan quickly stepped forward to pull Bai Menglu away, but someone was faster. My father slapped her arm hard. The shock made her let go of me immediately. I was actually a little relieved he'd only hit her arm, not her face. Then my father turned to a nearby student who was watching and whispered a couple of questions. When he heard Bai Menglu's name and class, his thick eyebrows furrowed deeply. Everyone froze at that question. The most stunned expression was on Bai Menglu herself. That night, I was supposed to take Wang Quan to dinner with my parents. Unfortunately, that slot was suddenly taken by none other than Bai Menglu's father, Uncle Bai Dago. The father and daughter sat opposite our family of three, but the old father was filled with shame, stammering awkwardly as he spoke. If I didn't know Uncle Bai was several years younger than my father, looking at his white hair and wrinkled face, besides his bad luck in business, a troublemaker daughter like Bai Menglu must have caused her father no end of headaches. Brother Fu, I don't even know how to apologize to your whole family. Uncle Bai's eyes reddened as he spoke. If you hadn't helped us those years, my family would have been starving. Who knew Lulu would be so thoughtless? My father looked genuinely sorry for him. I knew him too well. He valued friendship above everything, especially loyalty to old brothers who had built their careers from nothing together. The things I'd been through weren't Uncle Bai's fault. After all, they were his daughter's doing. My father wasn't the kind of unreasonable person who would blame everyone without thinking. I thought to myself, if father can't bring himself to say it, I'll take the initiative and forgive Bai Menglu. It would give Uncle Bai a way out and make things easier for my father. But before I could open my mouth, Bai Menglu started complaining with a pout. Dad, why are you being so pathetic? You don't owe them anything. Before she could finish, something shocking happened to everyone. Uncle Bai raised his arm and slapped Bai Menglu hard across the face. Ah! My classmate and roommate screamed. She lost balance and fell to the ground with her chair. My parents and I were all stunned. In that instant, I suddenly understood why Uncle Bai had booked the whole restaurant. Besides saving face for everyone, he was probably afraid that if he lost control, the embarrassment would be too public. I also saw the head chef walking towards us, probably to introduce the dishes that had just been served. At the scene in front of him, the chef froze in terror, unable to take another step. My mother was a very smart woman. Seeing this, she stood up thoughtfully and whispered a few words to a waiter. Everyone, including the chef and the other servers, stepped back. Now, inside the restaurant, only our family and the Bai father and daughter remained. Kneel to Uncle Fu. Kneel and apologize. How could you hit me for them? I was speechless. Bai Menglu was lying on the floor, yet she still refused to admit defeat. Some money? Every penny you eat, wear, and use is related to Uncle Fu. If he hadn't given me the money to get back on my feet and restart my business, you wouldn't even be here. Uncle Bai was hoarse, clearly furious. My father looked uneasy, but his eyes toward Bai Menglu were cold. I could tell he was genuinely angry. He just didn't want to say anything outright for the sake of old friendship. My mother, with her high EQ, walked over to calm Uncle Bai. Forget it. Our Fu won't hold it against a kid. Will you, dear? She shot my father a look. Everyone fell silent, waiting for my father's response. That was his only reply. For him, that was already showing considerable mercy. In the end, under Uncle Bai's insistence, Bai Menglu apologized to our whole family. She apologized in order. First to my father, then my mother, then me. When she bowed and said sorry to me, her movement was extremely perfunctory. What's more, when she straightened up and lifted her head, I even saw cold hatred in her eyes. A person's nature is hard to change. Even if she conceded defeat for the moment, she probably didn't mean it sincerely. I wondered silently, who would be the next one to suffer because of her? After seeing Uncle Bai and Bai Menglu off, I went back to my parents' hotel suite with them. While my father was taking a bath, I quietly told my mother what I was thinking. My mother looked at me worried. Sweetie, you've only been at university a few days. Why is everything going so wrong? I really should get you an amulet when I go back. Just relax and focus on your studies. What you've gone through is nothing. After a pause, she added, that girl from the Bai family really isn't easy to deal with. I'm worried about you living in the same room. Should I talk to your form teacher and get you a new dorm? I had thought about moving. But when my mother asked, Lu Qian and Jiang Baibai immediately appeared in my mind. Jiang Baibai was my good friend, and I was her only friend in room 301. If I left, I was afraid she would be bullied by Bai Menglu once she was alone. And Lu Qian, I couldn't help picturing her being bullied by the purple-haired and tattooed girls. Sigh. Even as an outsider, my heart ached just thinking about it. I couldn't imagine how deeply she must have been hurt. No, I'm not changing rooms, I finally told my mother. My mother looked surprised. Right, you shouldn't. I didn't know when my father had finished his bath and come out of the bathroom. He was wearing a silk bathrobe, looking like a wealthy squire. I laughed at the sight of him. My father smiled too. When has our Xueru ever been afraid? We haven't done anything wrong, so why should we move? His expression turned serious again. That girl from the Bai family needs to be taught a lesson. Her father is my old subordinate and friend. Morally, we can't let her run wild. As the saying goes, spoiling a child is like killing a child. She's only causing small trouble now, but if this continues, she'll end up in big danger. If she dares to mess around again at school, you teach her a lesson directly. I've got your back. I had to admit, my dad was great except that he loved being the dad too much. If he thought something needed to be done, even if others saw it as meddling, he would step up without hesitation, never worrying about causing trouble for his own family. But that was exactly why so many people liked him. And in Bai Menglu's case, I agreed with him. Uncle Bai was a good man. If I hadn't met his daughter, it would have been fine. Ignoring it would go against my father's loyalty to his old friend. So I put on a serious face and said to my father, "Yes, sir. Mission accepted." Surprisingly enough, the meeting between our two families really did intimidate Bai Menglu. She completely disappeared from my daily life. I rarely saw her in class. The teachers in our faculty hardly took attendance, so skipping class didn't seem to cause her any problems. Besides, our form teacher told us that Bai Menglu had given up her dorm bed and moved out. She'd probably rented a place off campus and would never come back to room 301. I really didn't see her in a dorm again. Her luggage and belongings also mysteriously vanished during a time when everyone was in class. As for the costume she had stolen, it was neatly folded and quietly left at the door of the costume department with a note. For the Kunqu club. On the other hand, Liu Qian's condition improved a lot. After what happened last time, I acted as if nothing had occurred, and treated her exactly as before. Even Zhang Baibai, who was very close to me, didn't notice anything wrong. Because of this, I caught Liu Qian looking at me with grateful eyes several times. Once I went to the cafeteria alone and ran into Liu Qian, who was also by herself. "Xueru, why are you alone? Where's Baibai?" I couldn't exactly tell her that Baibai had a boyfriend now, Dongping, and they were off being lovey-dovey. Actually, after everything that happened, I have gained a boyfriend too. We sat facing each other in the cafeteria, chatting as we ate. When talking about our families, I briefly mentioned my parents' hobbies. Liu Qian, however, deliberately avoided the topic. Not only that, but her eyes kept darting away. I looked at her and thought carefully before speaking. "Actually, about what happened last time. I wondered if you were in some kind of trouble." At my sincere words, Liu Qian's tears fell straight down, dropping into her food. The cafeteria was full of people we knew, so it wasn't convenient to talk. After hearing everything she told me, I realized how little I really knew about the world. Liu Qian's family situation was even worse than I had imagined. Her father was a farmer, and her mother suffered from severe mental illness. She also had a younger sister in junior high school. Because her mother needed treatment, her father couldn't afford the family's expenses, and wanted the younger sister to drop out and go to work in Guangdong. When Liu Qian found out, she strongly opposed it only to be scolded by her father. He said she was living a good life at university with scholarships and had no idea how hard the family was struggling in the countryside. He called her ungrateful, a white-eyed wolf who only cared about enjoying herself at school. Liu Qian broke down in tears, barely able to speak. But I already guessed what happened next. "So, Bai Menglu found out about all this and paid you to team up with her to trick me, didn't she?" I asked. Tearful, Liu Qian nodded. "Xueru, it's all my fault. I only thought about the money and caused you so much trouble." I shook my head. "It wasn't your fault." On the other hand, Bai Menglu had completely misjudged me. She thought that because she cared about money and was obsessed with it, everyone else would be devastated by losing it. She was so wrong. Even if I'd grown up in an ordinary family, let alone one that was well off, I would never have been as greedy for money as she was. Because I knew one thing clearly: money is a good thing. It can buy vanity and comfort, but it is only a tool, not a goal. Unfortunately, Bai Menglu never understood that. After learning Liu Qian's real difficulty, I gave her a phone number. "Just say I sent you." It was the office number for the Student Aid Foundation run by my mother. It was a little embarrassing, but the foundation was called the Xueru Angel Student Aid Foundation. My mother had set it up when I was in primary school, focusing on helping girls who couldn't continue their studies because of poverty. My mother said that I had loved studying since I was little, always doing my homework without being told. But every time she saw me like that, she thought about all the neglected little girls in corners of the world who wanted to study but had no chance. She hoped all girls could pursue their dreams freely, just like me. I repeated my mother's words to Liu Qian. In the end, I told her I hoped her younger sister could finish her studies without regret. Liu Qian couldn't hold back any longer, and buried her face in her hands, crying loudly. "I'm sorry. I was crazy to hurt someone as kind as you." I sat next to her and patted her shoulder gently. Unexpectedly, Liu Qian and I talked for the entire afternoon. She wasn't in good health, and after getting so emotional, she started coughing badly again. I walked her back to the dorm, but I wanted to go out and walk alone. Kunqu had an off-campus student union activity and wasn't at school today, so I could enjoy some time to myself. It was already dusk. I slipped out of the campus gate and walked along a nearby path, enjoying the scenery. I was having a nice time when, as I passed a small wood, I suddenly heard people whispering inside. The voices were very familiar. I thought hard and finally remembered. They were the voices of the purple-haired and tattooed girls who had bullied Liu Qian. What's wrong with that bitch? She still hasn't paid us the money she promised last time. Is she broke? Doesn't look like it. She's still wearing gold and silver. Let's stop messing around. Just grab whatever valuables she has on her and be done with it. I frowned. Was Bai Menglu about to get a taste of her own medicine? The two girls kept talking. She said she'd be here soon. It's been ages, she must be playing us. Bai Menglu was coming here too? Just then, I heard someone running over out of breath. Sorry I'm late. Girls, I need to ask you one more thing. It was Bai Menglu, definitely her. What else could she want these two to do? One thing was sure. It wouldn't be anything good. Xueru's still fine, nothing's happened to her. I say we just beat her up and let off some steam. I almost laughed out loud. This was what you called being at the end of your rope. I really had been naive to believe someone like Bai Menglu would repent and stop. This type of person only learns when it's too late. But judging from what I'd just heard, Bai Menglu wasn't going to get her way this time. Sure enough, it was the purple-haired girl who spoke. We still haven't got the money you promised us last time. Don't you trust me? I'm Sister Menglu. Bai Menglu's voice was 3 parts sweet and 7 parts fake. Even now, she was still trying to fool the delinquents with empty promises. I really couldn't tell if she was naive or just stupid. The tattooed girl immediately added, "No money from the last job, no new job, and you have to pay us first." The purple-haired girl agreed. Yeah. Otherwise, we'll take matters into our own hands. Bai Menglu sneered. You've got some nerve. What can you do to me? Not much. The purple-haired girl giggled. But we have our ways. Listen to me. I'm the daughter of the chairman of the Bai catering group. My family has plenty of money. You two are just nobodies. I tell you what to do and you do it. You trash even dare to question whether I can pay. I thought to myself, this is bad. People with nothing to lose are the most dangerous. You shouldn't offend people who have nothing, especially someone like Bai Menglu, who was only a minor rich kid, picking a fight with street delinquents. Otherwise, she'd come to a terrible end. I wanted to stop Bai Menglu from talking, but before I could move, I heard a dull thud. Thinking of my father's instructions and how old Uncle Bai already looked, I couldn't just stand by. I stepped out from behind the trees. The purple-haired girl had 1 foot on Bai Menglu's chest. Bai Menglu screamed, but the shoe covering her mouth made it hard for her to make a sound. In my eyes, everything Liu Qian had suffered was now happening to Bai Menglu. It was karma. I quickly typed a message on my phone and sent it, then shouted. The purple-haired and tattooed girls jumped. When they saw it was me, they strangely relaxed a little. Hey, Xueru. Now's your chance for revenge. Step on her too. This bitch is disgusting, you'd regret not doing it. The tattooed girl squinted at me. Let her go, I said coldly. The 2 girls exchanged looks and burst out laughing. Let her go? Dream on. We're gonna strip her, tie her up, and leave her at your school gate so everyone can see what little Miss Bai looks like. Bai Menglu's eyes filled with terror, and she struggled even harder. The purple-haired girl leaned down and slapped her hard. Bai Menglu's eyes rolled back, as if she was about to pass out. I'm telling you again. Let her go, or you'll regret it. I spoke tough, but my heart was racing. The message I had sent was to the police emergency number. Before the police arrived, I had to stall for time. You want money? I have money. It was my pocket money, available to use any time. The 2 delinquents stared at the numbers on the screen, their eyes wide. Wow, so you're the really rich one. Nice to meet you. The purple-haired girl grinned. In that moment of distraction, their guard dropped. The pressure under their feet weakened too. Somehow, at that critical second, Bai Menglu broke free. The small wood we were in was right next to a main road. I watched helplessly as Bai Menglu panicked and ran blindly toward the road. A strong bad feeling hit me. The purple-haired and tattooed girls were still young, not real vicious criminals. They froze when they saw what was happening. Bai Menglu was like a frightened bird, not looking where she was going, just running forward. And right toward her, a small truck was turning the corner. No! Along with my scream, Bai Menglu crashed into the front of the truck. She fell in the middle of the road. Blood, bright red blood, slowly flowed out from her head. My parents, Kunqu, and I went to Fushu Garden. In front of Bai Menglu's tomb, I saw Uncle Bai Dagon again. He looked completely worn out, his hair all white, his upper body hunched over like a shrunken old man. When he saw our family, he said nothing. He only nodded silently at us and left. Staring at Bai Menglu's photo on the tombstone, a black and white picture with a bright smile, the four of us stood there in silence. After a long while, I placed the bouquet of white flowers I was holding in front of the grave. I truly had nothing to say to this deceased person. But regardless, this had been a young life. One that could have turned over a new leaf. Or slowly changed. Now it was too late. People always think there's still a chance. But that's often not the case. If she hadn't wanted to hurt others, none of this would have happened. I had to admit, fate can be mysterious yet also cruel and cold. Those who always keep kindness in their hearts will eventually be rewarded. And malice filling one's heart can, at an unexpected moment, become a poisonous sting that kills oneself. All of this was far too heavy. We left Fushu Garden quietly. No one spoke as we walked from the cemetery to the parking lot. On the way back, Kunqu drove. My father sat in the passenger seat, and my mother and I were in the back. Mind if I smoke? Dad asked. No one objected. He rolled down the window and lit a cigarette. The car radio was broadcasting the weather forecast for the next few days. Looking at the dark clouds outside, I thought it was going to rain soon. After the rain, the sky would clear up again,